Welcome to Martini Time. It's Saturday. Kind of. I don't even turn on MSNBC on Saturday, and so it's usually. Well, anyway, we watch in the afternoon. We watch British mysteries, and we've been watching recently the Benchley Circle. Bletchley Circle. It's a British mystery about 4 women who were code breakers during the war at Bletchley, which is where the Enigma code was broken. And now after the war they get involved in solving crimes because they can see patterns. They can see patterns. And if you look at and so, in other words, when you can see patterns, other people don't see what you're seeing because patterns are kind of like life is metaphorical. Excuse me. And a metaphor points at 2 different things. A metaphor points at the content and also at the pattern. And we're kind of conditioned just to see the content. For instance, last night we watched Rear Window, and this morning I talked about it. I got really excited about it because I saw the pattern of the movie. Usually we see a movie and we see the content, and we like the content or we don't. But we are. That's just what it is, and that's fine. That is just what it is. It's just that movie. But weirdos like me, who see patterns, see a more universal meaning. Instead of the movie is relative to this particular, to the place and time of the movie, but the patterns are universal. Excuse me. And apply to your life. So this is difficult to explain, so hang in there if I can get this out of my throat. Well, maybe some more gin will help. So I've been reminded of Marshall McLuhan, who was a philosopher, economist in the 60s, 50s. And his one lasting refrain for us to remember is that the medium is the message, and the medium is the pattern. The pattern is the real message. Rachel Maddow talks about this when she's tracking Trump. Don't track what he says, track what he does, track the pattern. So all of this in Russian investigation is about looking for patterns. And, all the content is always, it's just this, it's no big deal. But then when you start connecting it to a pattern, the meaning changes. So this whole idea of breaking the code, breaking the everything seems to have a code or an enigma. What's the enigma? And we don't really break the code until we see the pattern. You see, so breaking the code means connecting dots. Aha, I see. And so when the code breaks, it's always a revelation. It's not by analysis. You see, it's by revelation, discovery. Aha. So there's this struggle, and all these, I guess that's why we love these mysteries, because the detective inspector, chief detective inspector, this is English, DCI, detective chief inspector, struggles and struggles with the disconnected clues. He wants to see the pattern. And none of the clues stand alone, but they seem to, but yet there is something connected. What is it? Something wants to be born. A bodiless child full of life cries in the gloom, "What shall I be? What is the pattern? What is it? Can't sleep. It's driving me crazy. And finally, usually there's a relaxation. Maybe there's a, I just let me go play some cards, and bam, it trips. I see, and they go running out. You see, so this is something that we see everywhere, and we're fascinated by it because it creates most of our movies. And it's art too. Like, what is the meaning of this art? You know, looks like just a soup can to me. So this seeing the pattern, and so I usually, when I see movies, I go through this process like I did with Rear Window. You see the movie, it's entertaining. I don't try to figure it out when I'm in the movie. I just watch the movie, and then it kind of like perks, you know, and then suddenly it begins to reveal itself to me. So the movie becomes transparent to the transcendent. Now this was what Joseph Campbell kept saying. Make the myth transparent to the transcendent. Make the movie transparent to the transcendent. The transcendent is the pattern that holds the relative or the content together. So when you make the foreground, all right, let's look at it this way. You got foreground and you got background. We don't see the background. We're using a narrow lens, you know, a photographer's narrow lens. So all we see is the foreground and the background's blurred. Well, like with bird photography, the bird's in sharp focus, but the background's blurred, right? So the background is the pattern. And the background is the context. The background gives meaning to the foreground, but we don't see the background. All we see is the foreground. We just see the story. We don't see the pattern. That's unconscious. So the pattern, you see, we can't see both at the same time. You can be conscious of, we're conscious of form, stuff, objects. But you can't be conscious of the pattern because you can't see it. Quantum physics brought this to our attention when it said, if you set up an experiment to see what an electron is, the experiment will tell you it's a particle. It's a thing in space. It's located in space. A thing, an object. There it is. But if you change the experience, the electron is a pattern. It's not located in space and time. You can't see it. You can't see a pattern because it's not still. It's not a thing. It's not an object. You see. So you can only see the pattern not by perception. You see the pattern by sensing it. It's intuitive. It's given. Oh, I see it. But you see it the whole all at once. You don't see a pattern. You see, this is a problem. It's this. You know, like my little Greek pissing boy here. You see him, but if it was a wave, you wouldn't see him because he would be moving in a unless you had it on a computer and it would take little pictures of each movement, so you would get a little pattern, you see. But you can't see a verb. We only see nouns. You see, so nouns are doing something to other nouns, so we call what they're doing a verb, but you don't see the verb. You just see the noun and what the noun is doing to the other, you see. But the pattern does not, the pattern exists over time. So this, well anyway, I may be getting off track here. But the point is that that patterns can be revealed to you when there is an intention to see the pattern. When there is a curiosity, when there's something unfinished, there's something I need to know. There's something I'm missing here. That's what all the detectives say. We're missing something. We're missing something. You see, I'm missing something. Look harder. You know, this whole idea, when you see the pattern, it's complete. Seeing the pattern completes the picture, completes the meaning. you see, because the pattern holds the unconscious meaning. And the conscious meaning is never enough because it doesn't include the pattern. It's just like, just like this little skull here. I found it on my back porch, okay? So I'm holding it here, right? So what the meaning of this depends upon the background. So the meaning I give it is that it was left on my porch. It was a little death head. I think it's a dead cat skull. And I just thought it was, it just connected a dot with me that some animal would leave this on my step for me to find it. It's kind of like somebody leaving a death head, you know, right? Why was this left there? You see, not that somebody intentionally left it there, but there's just all of this here is the way I connect dots. My little ostrich egg, look, where did he go? He's born again. He cracked out of his shell. All of these things here are, for me, is my personal way of connecting dots and connecting a context for me. My little laughing Hote, my little laughing Buddha. He's the Chinese bodhisattva who makes me feel good. And even my martini Eucharist, martini priest, you see, is part of the way I connect a context of me. And so this has a different meaning with me than it would have if you saw it in a bar somewhere. So I'm giving, my life is giving this meaning. But if you put this in a different place, it would have a different meaning. It would just be a martini glass, you see. But here is the Holy Grail. Here it's the Eucharist, you see, because it's metaphorical. I'm sharing something with you. I'm sharing something. It's alchemy. We're sharing the alchemy, the alchemical process of transforming content into gold, of transforming just this everyday world into the gold of realization, of seeing the pattern, of the context, of seeing the whole background, of seeing, you see. Seeing. When you see, you don't see piecemeal. You don't see one bit at a time. You see the whole thing at once. Seeing is whole. So if we're only seeing what's the senses give us, you see, this it world, this objective world that our civilization, Western, says is the only world. If you can't taste it, smell it, feel it, and eat it, or hear it, it doesn't exist, you see. Well, patterns are not known through the senses. A pattern is not known by feeling it, tasting it, smelling it, hearing it. You see. Did I miss one? You see what I mean? Empirical science, Western scientific materialism, is based upon the truth being empirically verified. You have to be able to experience it through the senses. If you can't see it, smell it, hear it, taste it, or feel it, I got all five, it doesn't exist. Or you can imagine it, it might be an opinion, it might be your fantasy, but it's not really real. It's not really real until you can sense it. You see, so all truth, you see, reality itself is dependent upon our senses. but your senses can't pick up a pattern. So we are completely oblivious to the patterns and the background that gives meaning to the foreground. We know that. The green screen proves it. You take somebody, put them in front of a green screen, and you can put them in front of the Grand Canyon. Oh, you're at the Grand Canyon and all that. And change the green screen, you're on a subway. Change the green screen, you're maybe at Antarctica. The meaning of the foreground changes with the background. You see. Well, we do this all the time too. When you take somebody out of context, politics does this. You take what somebody said, take it out of the context of the whole speech, and you can make it do anything you want. You can make him contradict himself by taking it out of the context. And then they complain, oh, you took it out of context. Well, sure. It's a manipulation. So the foreground has to have a background in order for it to have meaning. And everything, the background is the pattern of its existence in time, and that's unconscious because it's not detectable through the senses. So how is the pattern detectable? Well, we can't rely on sense data as the primary informer of what's real. And this is why today we're in a look for a word. There's a plague of conspiracy theories. What is a conspiracy theory? But a pattern that gives meaning to an event. You see. So everybody sees conspiracy theories. Now, and even the Russian investigation. Is that a conspiracy theory? Well, that's what Trump says. It's fake news. It's just drummed up by the Democrats. Or global warming. That's not a pattern, that's fake. You see? Because if you take global warming, which would be the data collected by the scientists, you see, that's just sense data. You see, and so you can change the meaning of the data by changing the background, your understanding, your mythology. Put it in front of a Noah's Ark, you see, change the background, and where God creates the world, you see, and then, well, it doesn't make sense that he would create global warming. You know, God's in control. But anyway, I don't want to go there. But I guess the point is that the code, the Enigma code, and all these mysteries, cracking the code, is about cracking the pattern and seeing the pattern, seeing the medium that is the message. The medium, the pattern, the context is the message. The message is not in just the fact, just the foreground, you see. And the reason today that we don't see patterns like we should, we don't see the whole picture, is because we are entranced with form through the indoctrination of scientific materialism, which has basically erased any ability to see beyond sense data. You see, so we're not able to intuit or sense the whole anymore. All we see is the flat sense data, you see. And that's breaking up now. The paradigm is changing. So everybody's seeing conspiracy theories. Everybody's seeing patterns that other people... So then I will have to convince you that what the pattern, the theory I have, you see, is the one. So the more people I can convert to my theory, the more valid it has. If I'm the only one who sees it, then I'm nuts. Or everyone else is nuts and I'm not. Either way, you see. So anyway, the cracking the code, cracking the enigma, you see, and seeing the pattern, connecting the dots, solving the puzzle. All of these things are entertainment. We love doing it. And we keep doing it over and over again, you see, because we like the Ah, I see. We like the surprise of discovering the total picture. Oh, I see. And then you can put it down. It's complete. There's no more surprise. If surprises were eliminated, we'd kill ourselves. There would be nothing worth living for. That's why I would think heaven would be a very boring place. There's no surprises. Can you imagine what a world would be like without a surprise? You see? Even death is a surprise. Aha, you're dead. So, and we couldn't live without that either. Imagine what it would be like if there was no death. There would be no surprises. Life would have no meaning without a surprise, without death. Anyway, I'm getting off. So I just wanted to share with you my interest in the British mysteries and the seeing the metaphor. So when I talk about the metaphor and all of that, I'm talking about seeing the pattern behind the foreground, connecting the dots, and seeing a larger meaning, seeing a larger understanding. And that ability to see patterns, to see the metaphor, to see the meaning behind the foreground, to see the medium, the message in the medium, basically begins to happen when you stop being attached to your own thinking. And this is the process of meditation. Meditation as a practice, practicing mindfulness, is a practice that disconnects you from your investment in the forms of thought and your story, you see. Yeah, here again. My story of me is what gives meaning to everything that happens to me, you see. So if my story of me is that I'm a victim, well then everything that happens to me is going to make me feel like a victim. If my story of me is that I'm always a winner, then everything that happens, you see, I've got to be interpreted as winning. Does that sound familiar? Everything Trump, the interpretation of everything that happens to him, he interprets as, I'm a winner. Even when he loses. See, I won. Told you so, you see. So his pattern is unconscious to him. It's not unconscious to us because we're watching it. So the trick is that when my pattern, my story, that I use to give meaning to everything that happens to me is unconscious, then I am essentially a zombie. I am essentially a robot, just repeating patterns, thinking I'm seeing something new. You see, because my pattern, my story, my enigma code is unconscious. So the whole practice of meditation, mindfulness, the study of wisdom teachings, is to make the unconscious conscious, is to make my pattern conscious. And when my pattern becomes conscious, it's no longer unconscious. It's no longer trapped. It's energy freed. And that freed energy that's locked up in the unconscious pattern now becomes more awareness to see patterns. So I become more aware, see more patterns, see more background, you see. So, anyway, let us end with that, and thank you for dropping in, and I'll see you in the morning at Zen Live.